to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McVinney. I'm your host. Today is the 20th of March, year 2026. And today at 7:45 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, the sun entered Aries and spring sprung in the northern hemisphere. So I'd like to wish you a blessed, wonderful spring. It's looking pretty active from this chart, and we know that. We don't have to look at the chart to know the activity is over the top. We currently have, in this order, the Sun, Neptune, Saturn, Venus, the Moon, and Chiron, all in Aries. That's a lot of fire. That's a lot of me first energy. And that's also a great deal of pioneering for progress to create a new life. And that's what spring's about in the Northern Hemisphere. Waking up from the dead slumber to step out, march out, and begin to create what you wish to be your reality. When we begin new projects, we always want an Aries on board because they bring their enthusiasm, their boundless energy, and their perspective that yes, I can and I will to the table. And that's always needed when you start new projects. And in today's world, many people are starting over. Many countries are starting over. But today, on the day of spring, the first 24 hours, I would suggest you just inhale and breathe and don't start anything just quite yet. And that's because also today, Mercury stationed direct, that's another hooray, at 8 degrees Pisces. It is currently sitting right next to the North Node, which represents what I'm striving to become. However, the moon is void of course all day until about 11:30 tonight on the Pacific coast. And when we have a void of course moon, that's the proper time to reflect, ponder, take it all in, make the plan, but you don't dig in the dirt just yet. That can wait for tomorrow. Because this stellium, cluster of stars, in Aries will be with us for a good while, it's okay to rest for one day and enjoy the sounds of happiness if you are blessed and don't live in a war zone. Now, I don't want to start this podcast off with talk of war. In my research, I found some fascinating link-ups to leaders' charts with countries' charts. And as I declinated all that is going on, I've come to a few points I'd like to make. But first, I'm going to talk about Mars and how that is what you should focus on and how you can move your energy with the help of Mars. Now, this stellium in Aries is truly going to come to life when Mars ingresses into Aries. And that occurs on April the 9th. and Mars will stay in Aries until the 18th of May. So that window of time is when you will get an extra B12 shot to help implement ideas, projects, things that you decided during the spring awareness day that you would like to implement them. A good question to ask yourself right now is, what do I want? Just sit still with yourself and imagine that you have one wish that can be granted, only one. What would that be? That's an excellent thing right now to focus on. As you come to the realization of what's truly important to you, when Mars enters into Aries, you can begin to manifest it. That doesn't mean you don't take any action for the next, 19, 20 days. You can perfect and go over ideas of how to make this vision one that is truly coming alive. You can gather with people in conversation and in forums and PowerPoint and brainstorm and exchange ideas and really get involved with those that are as excited about what you wish to implement as you are, be it a community garden, an entire organization, a protest. Mars is in Aries. What would you like to fight for? You know, Mother Teresa once said that she did not wish to fight against something. She only wanted to use her energy forward for something. So you can take that perspective and really develop the training that's necessary to get it off the ground. Currently, in this spring 2026 chart, the planet that rules all that Aries energy is Mars, and it's currently in Pisces. Pisces is known to be the two fish swimming toward each other. They go in one direction, then they go into another direction. Sometimes there's a little bit of a fog of what they actually want to achieve. Other times they have intuitive clarity. It's a mix mash. When wars are begun with Mars in the sign of Pisces, there's an ambiguity, a kind of fogginess, an unclarity of why we're even doing that, which is actually in the headlines right now. That's on a lot of people's mind. Why are we fighting these wars that we're currently fighting? What exactly is the agenda? So the agenda is not clear. You will need your agenda to be clear for you to be successful. You'll have some help because that Mars in Pisces will be trining Jupiter that's in Cancer. So that clarity will come. That beautiful aspect of Mars trining Jupiter manifests on the 22nd of March in a couple of days. So grab onto that energy. Make clarification a top priority. Do not just wander around in a mazed garden of, oh, everything's beautiful and that's what I want. No, you need clear perspective with some ideas that are not so dreamlike that they can be implemented. Keep the dreaming for the time when your head hits the pillow before you wake up. A few other aspects that are happening in the sky to help you streamline your vision That, of course, Mercury is direct now, but it won't pick up speed for a couple of days. It will be conjuncting the North Node in the sky, which is a point, not a planet, of what I'm striving to become. It's currently at 8 degrees Pisces. That conjunction also happens on the 22nd of March, and I have hopeful crossed fingers, or I have hopefulness that perhaps talks to end the war may manifest this week. I know, I'm reaching. The other possible pushing forward aspect is the sun in the sky. Well, wait, let me jump back. On the 22nd, the sun will conjunct Neptune. A little bit more cloud, fog of war, but this is different than the Piscean fog that can happen. This is just straight up denial. I don't like what I hear, so I'm going to pretend like it's not happening. I would not encourage that behavior. On the 25th, the sun will conjunct Saturn. That's when you become a general. That's when you said, here's the plan. I have it. Let's start to implement it. Get everybody in a line. We're going forward. I'm the authority. Now, we want to hope that the right authority is the one saying these words. We know people at the top are a little loony right now. So, pick your people carefully. On the 26th of March, Venus, the planet of love, is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. So we become privy to the fact of suffering. We can't deny it. That also is maverick energy. And that is a symbol of the beauty of humanity when they discover that love is more powerful than dropping bombs. On the 28th of March, transiting Saturn will sextile transiting Pluto, and that is truly when the voices that have power come together to help foster a change that is positive and good for all of humanity. I believe that this war is not going to go on long. And that's not Pollyanna thinking. That's because we're like $39 trillion in debt. Let me say that again. $39 trillion in debt. We don't have the money. Because you know where the money comes from? You and me. Also, in the USA chart, in the sky, Saturn is squaring Jupiter. We're losing our worldly friends. And in the sky, Jupiter is square our birth Saturn. I'll say that again. In the sky, Saturn is squaring our birth Jupiter. And in the sky, Jupiter is squaring our birth Saturn. That is also called or known as a double whammy. It means double force between the two energies of Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn being a foundation of stability, Jupiter being, gosh, I don't know what happened to me. I didn't mean to buy half the store. I mean, I just went in to get a blouse. How I came out with 15 bags, I don't know how it happened. You better figure out because the bill's going to come. Of course, I'm speaking metaphorically to war. The bill is going to come. And that bill will not just be in dollars. It will be in people's lives and the relatives of those that are dead that will not forget. How long have we been hearing about other atrocities that happened? How long? Since forever when they happened. and how we never would let them happen again. Well, these current wars will never be forgotten also by people. Like I said, we're not making friends. We're losing friends in the USA. So we got to turn that ship around. Starving people in Cuba does not make people feel loving toward you. They do not believe they're being rescued when they don't have any electricity. Cuba will have a regime change because Uranus in the sky is conjunct their sun exact right now. But bullying them into it will not make friends. Now, I did a little research. Actually, I always do a ton of research. And I looked at Iran's chart. April 1st, 1979, 3 p.m., Tehran. And then I punched in Donald Trump's chart, his solar return specifically. How interesting it was to me to see that Iran's birth moon is at 6 degrees Gemini. And lo and behold, Donald Trump's solar return moon is at 6 degrees Gemini. Whoa, they're conjunct. Their moons are conjunct. What could that possibly mean? It means that when Uranus moves into Gemini, which it will shortly do at the end of April, that there will be an awakening. However, I'm not holding my breath on the big T. As far as Iran goes, there will be substantial change in that country. However, it is not going to truly come about. The real change will happen in June of 2027. We're going to see some speckles of it this summer, but the real change will happen a year from June, July of this summer. So summer of 2027. June 13th, 27 and June 20th, 27 to be specific for the astrologers. You can look up the ephemeris and look up Iran's chart and you'll see what I'm seeing. For everybody else, just pray for Iran because there are people there that are suffering. Now, since the T, Donald, his solar return moon is the same as Iran's in his upcoming solar return, that gives me hope that perhaps he might be able to lessen his ego's needs or his best friend's need. You know, that man that's in the Middle East that instigated him probably didn't have to turn his arm too hard to go do his bidding. The way that you get Donald to be happy and to lessen the suffering he's causing, since he's choosing not to go through the legal system to have a war and he's just doing it on his own, is you appease him with things that he wants. You give him a little bit of what he wants and he goes off and does whatever he does when he's not bombing other countries, which is probably looking in the mirror, telling himself how gorgeous he thinks he is. I hope he enjoys looking in the mirror because I don't think he's going to be looking in that mirror for very long. His chart does show that he will be, shall we say, handcuffed. I'm not talking about the handcuffs of the justice system. I'm talking about the handcuffs of divine. There is a shakeup coming for America as much as the shakeup that they have caused for other countries. Reason being, our solar return that happens this year will occur with a Mars-Uranus exact conjunct in Gemini. The actual conjunction perfect on the 3rd. Our return happens on the 4th, but it's so close. It's within minutes. Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini shows there will be a reckoning here. That reckoning is going to come from the bills that have to be paid, that can't be paid. It's going to hit us in the pocket. And right about that time, we will be having a Saturn opposition Saturn cycle in the USA. And that's when you learn where you have to cut, because you cannot pay. And the USA will also be having Saturn in the sky squaring its sun. And the sun represents the president, the country as well, but it represents the president. So I see a curtailing of that man happening in a major way. Let us move on. We have given him way too much time. Let's talk about how you can use Mars. Now, Mars in Aries, as I stated, from April 9th until May 18th, 26th. On the 18th, it switches into Taurus. Mars will be in Taurus until June 28th, 26. During Mars's transit of Taurus, pursue love, pursue beauty, figure out what it is within you that is needing to be said. Find your voice, find your style. Go see the opera or ballet or theater or any of the arts. Do things that make you feel loved. Go on dates. From June 28th until August 11th, Mars will be in Gemini. That favors submitting your article, your book, doing the finishing touches or starting your book if you've not started it. It favors all forms of communication. It favors a road trip, a walkabout. Use words to express yourself. Poetry. There is this great poet that I know I have spoken of before. Her name is Georgie Jones. Georgie Jones is on TikTok and on Instagram, and she is just brilliant with her words. Find your brilliance with your words. What I'd like to leave you with is this spring equinox chart shows a powerhouse of energy at your disposal. You can tap into it and utilize it in any way that you decide. The key factor is you have to decide to do something. You cannot just walk in circles. This energy is going to be strong until we come to the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. So for the next 3 months, make a commitment, have a foundation, strive to be love and give it. Heal yourself and bring peace within, because when you do this, everybody you come in contact with will be touched. Heal yourself of anger and channel your frustration into action. I'm Parker McPhinney. This is Stardust Stereo. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'd like to thank my patrons. Thank you so much for keeping Stardust Stereo on the air. If you want to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I want to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.